We are back on the Women of Wrestling podcast here on divadirt.com. I'm Stu, I'm here with Lee. And
We're back.
We've been gone for quite a while.
Yeah, we had a sort of a little, return briefly in January when we interviewed Kelly.
Yeah, a little placeholder show. But we've essentially been in hiatus ever since. Where we've been is a long and boring story. But the important thing is that we are back, and we're going to try our best now to flood you with content.
Yeah, well, I think it's more like overcompensation more than anything else.
It's one way of putting it. But we've got a number of interviews lined up. I've sort of considered the idea of saying that we're going to try and do 6 shows in 6 weeks. But we'll see how it goes. That's all we're going to say.
Well, this is the plan. I mean, if I wanted to give you a little bit of a tease without actually saying who the names are, if we told you that we're going to have interviewees who are going to have first-hand stories from WWE, TNA, Shimmer, WSU, WEW, and NWWL, that should give you a few ideas on who we're going to be speaking to. Yeah,
we won't bother jinxing ourselves with giving names, but we should hopefully be coming back with a lot of shows in a short space of time. So what I'm suggesting you do, if you haven't already done this, head over to iTunes. If you've got your iPod, if you use iTunes, we have a subscription thing over there. Sign up. Means when the new show comes along, you're not going to miss it. It will get downloaded to your iTunes. Or I guess you could use any other RSS readers if you wish.
I don't know how to use any of those.
It's a little bit complicated, but no, it's not. It's you press a button and they say, do you want to subscribe? And you say yes. And then you get all sorts of good audio from us and our upcoming guests.
Of which there will be many.
There will be many. And our first guest back is going to be someone who's just recently announced her retirement. So this is essentially going to be her farewell to the business. And that is none other than Coventry's Loudest, Jetta.
Now, the American fans, if you're listening to this and you've never heard of Jetta and think, well, who is she? I've never heard of her. She's never been in TNA or WWE. It doesn't matter. You really, really should listen to this. She's got experience of people who you will probably have heard of. So it would be good to hear her experiences of people who she's worked with who are now involved in other promotions which you have heard of. So don't dismiss it just because you may not have heard of Jetta before. For God's sake, do listen to this.
Yeah, Jetta's worked quite extensively in Shimmer over in the States as well. You know, she's wrestled the likes of Serena Deeb, who's now in WWE, and Daphne, who's now in TNA. So, yeah, she's going to have some stories, and it's going to be a fun time. But before we get to the Jetta interview, we're going to talk, first of all, just about something that we were both at quite recently, and that was last month. We were in Berwyn again. Again, can you believe that?
For the 4th time.
For the 4th time in 2 years. We travelled 3,500 miles to watch women's wrestling. It sounds wrong when you say it like that, but we were at Shimmer once again for the tapings of Volume 29, 30, 31, and 32, 4 DVDs recorded across the space of 2 days. And I don't know about you, but the last show that we went to in November, I came away thinking that was probably the best Shimmer tapings that we've ever been at. I came away from this one thinking that was probably the best set of Shimmer tapings we've ever been at.
It's very consistent, isn't it?
So it's like, how can you possibly have a promotion that's this consistently good all the time? And, well, I mean, it's just one of those things. Let's talk about some of the stuff that happened at Shimmer. Big stories coming out of it. If you don't want to know what happened at the next 4 tapings, if you want to wait and watch the DVDs, forward on until you hear Jetta's entrance music or something like that, and we'll try not to spoil anything. But if you're still with us, we've got a new champion for a start.
We do!
Biggest news coming out. No one could believe this. I can't wait to see this again on DVD because my face fell. I just remember this really uncomfortable moment when I looked around at you and Steve, our travel companion, and I said, was that it? Was that what?
That was it, wasn't it? It was almost like this sort of pregnant pause, a sort of stunned silence. It was like, what the hell have we just seen?
Yeah, we just saw Madison Eagles from the PWWA promotion in Australia beating Mischief, who was closing in on 2 years as Shimmer champion. She was probably, I don't even know off the top of my head, but she's probably one of the longest reigning, if not the longest reigning singles champion of any note in the wrestling world. And when she got beaten, there wasn't a single person in that hall that expected it to happen. It was just the most surreal experience.
Exactly. It was almost like the sort of surrealness sort of bookended Mischief's reign, because when she beat Sarah Del Rey at Volume 18, It was almost like people weren't expecting that one to happen. And then she loses it to Madison Eagles on volume 31. And once again, nobody was expecting that to happen. I mean, it was one of those moments where you just sit there and you're thinking, Jesus, did that actually really just happen? That can't be right. That really can't be right. I'm sure this is going to be restarted or whatever, but no. Clean as a sheet pinfall. Madison Eagles, third Shimmer champion.
Yeah, incredible. And as well as Madison Eagles returning to the promotion and winning the championship, we also had the debut of 4 new girls from Japan, 4 Joshi stars. And I mean, it's no secret that Joshi has played a big influence in Shimmer up to now. I mean, I remember Allison Danger on the first Shimmer DVD cutting the promo about how they proved that American Joshi was possible. That's always kind of been the underpinning aspect of Shimmer. And apart from having Ayako Hamada debut on the previous tapings, this time they were able to bring across from Japan Ayumi Kurihara, Tomoka Nakagawa, Mizaki Ohata, and Hiroyo Matsumoto. And I know that's just a bunch of names to you if you've never seen these girls before, but when you get these Shimmer DVDs in your hands and you get to see them, I guarantee you they're all going to appeal because they all had, significant personalities, different styles. By the end of the weekend, it's fair to say that we were a huge fan of all 4 of these girls.
Absolutely. I didn't even know their names. I didn't know what they looked like when they first started. I made a deliberate ploy to not see anything about them or even learn their names because I wanted to go into Shimmer not knowing who they were and just having them make that impression on me there, and I'll decide on it then and there, as opposed to going in with any kind of, expectations of what they're capable of. And my God, they blew me away.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we've discussed this. I mean, Ayumi Kurihara was my favorite of the weekend. She was the one that, to me, made the biggest impression. It helped that she had one of the best matches of the entire weekend against Tomoka Nakagawa on the first taping. And I remember you turned around to me just before the match and you said something like, well, I expect this to be awesome. And it was.
That's it. Even though I had no expectations, they were still unnaturally high.
Yeah, and they still managed to exceed those expectations. And the one thing that, that underpinned the whole, Kurihara becoming a huge fan of hers in particular was when Madison Eagles won the belt from Mischief. After that first few minutes where I thought, what the hell just happened? My next thought was, I really want Ayumi Kurihara to beat Madison Eagles for the Shimmer Championship. This is someone I'd never seen live until, the day before, and all of a sudden she'd almost leapfrogged people like Mischief to get her revenge, or cheered and Melissa to get her revenge. I was a huge Kurihara fan by that point, so...
You weren't the only one.
Yeah, kudos to her. I mean, absolutely loved her. I think, probably fair to say, you were a bigger fan of Hiroyo Matsumoto, all things considered.
I was, yeah. I just found her personality to be really, really infectious. It was, she was one of those people who you just look at and she's smiling in the ring and she's enjoying herself and you're thinking, I'm enjoying watching you enjoying yourself. So I think that kind of interaction with her and the crowd, I thought was really cool. And then at the very end, she was the last of all those 4 girls to be wrestling on volume 32. And everybody's chanting, please come back at her in the ring. I think it was a collective chant for all the 4 girls who had come along. And you could just see her in the ring. She was absolutely in tears. And it was adorable, because, we hadn't heard of them really 2 days before, and they didn't really know, about the promotion that much. They sort of came in pretty cold as well. And everybody just came away with a really good impression of everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, they'd seen DVDs. They knew what they were coming to expect, but, they may not have got over. They may not have appealed to the fans. The fans may
not have translated.
Exactly. The fans may not have adopted them like they did, but they really absolutely did. And I think and I hope that all 4 should probably be back on future DVDs. Whether it's every DVD or not, I don't know, but hopefully all 4 will be back. Certainly Kurihara made the universal "I want the belt" sign, so I really, really, really want to see that. But all 4 should hopefully be back, and they just made a tremendous impression.
That wasn't the last time that we saw them on our trip, though.
No, it wasn't. If you want to have a quick word about Jersey All Pro, feel free.
Oh, I'd like to. Jersey All Pro Wrestling had a show the following week, and we went along to it because we travelled along to New York as well. It just sort of coincidental that we were there in the area as well. And we did think we were going to get a tag match and out of it, and Sarah Del Rey versus Ayumi Kurihara for the Jersey All Pro Women's title. What actually happened was we got Antisocial versus Mizaki Ohata, and then we had a triple threat match featuring Matsumoto, Nakagawa, and Sumi Sakai. and then we had the title match as well. None of them were that fantastic matches, but that's not really their fault to a certain extent. The triple threat match was a triple threat match. You know, I don't know why, but sometimes they just don't translate as far as women are concerned that well. The title match. Oh boy, the title match. Yes. It was getting going. It was starting. People were starting to get into it a little bit as well, because they were quite cold to all the girls, because they didn't know who they were, and it was starting to sort of bubble up a little bit, and it was starting to get a bit of heat. We're about 6 minutes in, and Del Rey does, what was it, a German suplex?
I believe so.
I think it was a German suplex, and the ref, who probably doesn't watch much Puro or Joshi action, doesn't realise that sometimes they kick out at 2.999 and counted 3.
Yes.
On this German suplex, and he could have waved it off. He could have waved it off and says, "Oh no, sorry, that wasn't actually 3. It's just a very close 2." But no, he called for the bell and said the match was over. My God, Del Rey looked like she wanted to kill him.
Yes, and I felt sorry for both of them. I mean, but Del Rey at least has the opportunity to come back next month and, you know, put on another great match and you know, make up for it like that. But Kurihara, this was a big opportunity for her to have a title shot in a foreign promotion, and she ended up getting robbed by really bad officiating. So, yeah, not good.
Yeah, I think you know, they all seemed to be quite happy afterwards, and they were very popular during the intermission. So they were flooded with people. Yes. And, you know, everybody wanted to get photos and buying merch. I think they sold out pretty much of most of their merch. So I think you know, as far as the profitability was concerned, it was really good. But as far as the in-ring stuff was concerned, it was, for one way or another, disappointing.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. If we can, let's pop back to something much more pleasing, and that was back to the Shimmer show again. Just like to mention a couple other things before we got on to the interview. Tenille had a massive coming out performance against Sarah Del Rey.
Oh, that was fantastic.
It was like the first really great match of the tapings, as far as I remember. It was the first one where it's like, okay, that was special. And, you know, Del Rey made Tenille, and that's not to say Tenille didn't make herself, but Del Rey especially made her look like $1 million.
It was very reminiscent of the 3 matches between Del Rey and Serena Deeb.
It was. And Tenille also pulled out just the most amazing bridging Indian deathlock you've ever seen. You want to see that on DVD when you see it.
I think everybody just looked at it and thought, that's fantastic. I would have no problems right now if that was the last move of the match. Yeah. It wasn't, but it turned out that it was just one of those amazing moves where I think everybody just sort of thought, yeah, this is a moment right here.
Indeed. The weekend was topped off with a big meeting between Ayako Hamada and cheerleader Melissa. And, alright, look, you heard about the match that they had on TNA. You probably saw the match they had on TNA. And everybody
Lots of people were very happy about it.
Everybody talked about the TNA match and how great it was. Imagine that match times about 10. Here they got time. They had an opportunity to tell a much better story. They had the opportunity just to show what they can do in the ring. If you like that TNA Impact match between those two, you need to get this volume and watch the two unfettered by TNA's incompetence and allowed to go out there and have a proper match.
Well, this is it. I think you know, you watch it and everyone was sort of going on about how great that 5-minute match was, but then these guys came out and didn't do the kind of match that I was expecting them to do.
It wasn't quite as violent as Hamada versus Del Rey on the previous tapings in November, but it was really, really physical all the same.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was really strong. It was really sort of powerful match. But you know, if you were expecting a huge weapons-based brawl, you're not going to get that. But then that's quite good because it separates it from Del Rey versus Hamada.
Yes.
And I think that's a really good thing as well, just to show that, you know, the versatility of Hamada. You know, she's not just, you know, a sort of high-flying brawler or anything like that. No, she's actually going to get down on the mat and wrestle as well.
Absolutely. And plus, as far as like the weapons and the brawling all over the crowd were concerned, that was kind of taken care of already because Allison Danger and Portia Perez, 2 of our former guests on the show, had their last woman standing match, which I guess was the conclusion of their long-standing feud. There was blood, there was weapons, there was fighting all over the place. We didn't see quite a lot of the match, so I can't wait to see that on DVD because, quite frankly, there was such a scrum around them at all times. But it should be a really good match, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. We spoke to Danger afterwards, and she had puncture holes in her head that she had no idea where they came from.
Yeah, that's a bit worrying.
So who knows what happened when we couldn't see?
Yes. Speaking of injuries, by the way, well, I guess you can call it an injury. It didn't stop her wrestling, but Kelly Skater's chest after her match with Mercedes Martinez
was ridiculous.
Yes, volume 30, right?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen chops. You've seen the damage that they can do, but I swear to you, you've never seen what damage chops can do until you see this match. We were sitting with our friend, our new transatlantic buddy, Stephen, from Divadirt.com. He was the first person that noticed it. He reacted and he said to me, he just sort of looked at me and he goes, "Oh my God, have you seen her chest?" And I sort of peered and I thought, oh, it was like looking at mincemeat or something. It was streaky, it was bloody, there was
open wounds.
Yeah. Absolutely horrific. She took an absolute kicking at the hands of cheerleader Melissa back in November, but that was almost child's play compared to the devastation that Mercedes Martinez wrought on that girl's chest.
I was going to say, Melissa's match now just looks like a baby piss beating more than anything.
Incredible. I was almost disturbed, quite frankly. I mean, I've just never seen that much destruction from chops. But that's another one you've got to see. Other honorary mentions, people I'd like to say that had good shows. Sassy Steffi, I really liked. I became a much bigger fan of her on this taping. She's been doing Sparkle matches for a while. We've seen her quite a few times now. She debuted on the main card as part of a tag team with Casey Diamond. I never quite thought she fitted in there with the whole Casey Diamond and Mademoiselle Rochelle thing. But as a solo on the shows, Sassy Steffi really stepped it up for me. She had a great match on Volume 29 against Madison Eagles, which I think was one of the best matches of the weekend. And I look forward to seeing what they can do with Steffi. We also had the in-ring debut in Shimmer of Antisocial, who wrestled in place of Wesna, I guess. Wesna, unfortunately, has retired. Looks like it's probably going to be a permanent retirement. She's got hip injuries. So Antisocial sort of stepped into Wesna's role, teamed up with Melanie Cruz, and showed great aggressiveness. I think we were all quite impressed with Annie in the ring.
Yeah. We also had the return of Dark Angel Sarah Stock, who is the very, very absent Sarita in TNA, just in case you weren't sure who she was. And she had been on a volume for about 2 years. And came back, had a title match against Mischief. Just a really, really nice match. And I think, she was one of the people who it was nice to have back as well.
Yeah, she was someone who first came to our attention in Shimmer, and obviously she, is much more well known now through TNA and CMLL. But
well, you say that, but how often is she on TNA these days?
All right, fair point. But no, it was very nice to see Sarah Stock back. And
for some reason she remembered me.
And me, yeah.
That was very worrying.
We're clearly memorable people. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it's a bad thing, but we'll skip past that.
Yes. I think we pretty much covered most of what we want to talk about Shimmer. We don't want to spoil too much. You can get the DVDs when they come out. Production's already started. In fact, production's already done on the first 2 volumes, which is volume 29 and 30. Those should be with you soon. Look out for them. You need to get those volumes.
But let me just say, if you are planning on going to any Shimmer tapings in the maybe what is a 2-day stretch over a weekend, just be prepared, because we sat and watched 50 matches during that weekend, 50 straight matches, and it's not to say that it's tiring. I think we came out and we still felt pretty fresh about the whole thing. But I think if you're going to go there, make sure you got your sort of your fan hat on very firmly.
Yeah. Go and enjoy it. It's something to be enjoyed. Can't say enough about it. It's quite worrying, and in fact, it's quite destroying to us that the next Shimmer team looks like it's going to probably be in the summer. Chances are we're not going to be there.
Oh well.
But we'll be back, hopefully soon. But
we're not wrestling. Don't get us wrong.
No, obviously.
You make it sound like we're working there or something.
No. But front row.
We're not good enough for that.
Exactly. We are not. But yeah, we'll hopefully be back there soon, and hopefully if anybody's listening to this who hasn't had a chance to check it out, please do. Definitely recommend it. We've got...
If only for the after party.
Do you want to talk about this?
No, I don't want to talk about the after party.
We don't talk about the after party. But if
you have to be there.
If you go to the Shimmer taping, you do need to go to an after party.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right. Well, I'll tell you who's not going to be back in Shimmer, bearing, or unless there's anything very, very strange happens between now and the next set of tapings, and that's going to be Jetta. She's going to be our guest coming up. I think, have we got anything else we want to talk about before we invite her onto the show?
I don't think so. Let's get her on here. I think there's quite a few things that we'd like to talk to her about, so let's do it.
Okay, and we are back on the show now with our guest for this edition, Coventry's Loudest. It's Jetta.
Hello.
Welcome to the
show.
Oh,
God, if only we could talk about the stuff which we just were talking about before we came back.
We may get we may get to that, but let's show some respect here. We got someone who PWI ranked last year as number 29 of the best 50 wrestlers in the world. Which means, Jetta, you're almost as good as Jillian Hall and a little bit better than Lufisto.
Well, there you go. It's all you need to know. All I needed to know was that I didn't beat Rain, so as far as I'm concerned, that was the only thing I was bothered about. I didn't beat Rain, so as far as I'm concerned, it never happened. The magazine doesn't exist.
Ooh, okay.
I looked for it, I was like, oh, I'm in there, where's Rain? Oh, shit, she beat me down. I was like, shit.
Only by about 2
That was the only important thing. Yeah, but she just kept going on and on about it, so.
What a great woman. Okay, well, we're starting on controversy, but we'll go on. We'll start here with the end, essentially, and that was the fact that last month you shocked quite a lot of people by announcing your retirement at a Triple X show.
Yeah, on my birthday, no less. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, I just thought that, because I was in the middle of doing some Best of 7 thing, wasn't I? And I was like, oh, I don't really want to be one of those people who just doesn't show up. So, and I mean, to be fair, that crowd is the same sort of people who've been coming to see me wrestle for years and years and years. So I kind of feel in a little kind of way I owe them something because they've always put me over to people and are a lot of the reason why I've been able to travel and stuff. So I just wanted to say thank you. I was just going to quit and not say anything, but I just thought that might be a little bit mean. And I told loads of people as well. I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody. And then I told too many people and everyone found out anyway. So I might as well just say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's fair to say Lee and I both sort of heard rumblings, so it wasn't a complete surprise to us. But I suppose you haven't really gone on record yet, if you want to, with regards to what your reasons are. I mean, what's causing somebody at the age of 22 to go in the tile?
I just I don't know. I don't want to say that I've had enough of it. I don't hate wrestling or anything like that, but it's got to the point where I don't know, it's just become a bit of a chore. I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. I have quite a few back problems. It's nothing, really, really serious, but I don't want to, get to the stage where it's really, really serious, I'm 22 years old and I suffer a lot with it anyway, and I just kind of think, is it really worth it? It's not worth it to completely fuck up your body at 22. It's insane. So, yeah, it's just time. I think you just know as well. You just know when it's time. So.
Well, I mean, we just had the situation recently with Wesna retiring, and, she's not much older than that, and she's got really serious, probably issues with her hip for the rest of her life. And,
yeah.
I suppose was she, what happened to her is probably another reason why you don't want to become her.
Yeah, I mean, especially as well when you see people like that. And I mean, to be fair, she's been suffering for a long while. I've seen her after matches, and she's just been she just walks backstage and just collapses. And I'm just I love Wesner and everything, but I'm just why? Why do you do it to yourself? It's really not worth it. It's really not worth it for that. You've got one body, and it's not just their hip, it's their neck, it's their back, and those are serious parts of your body to be fucked up. What's she, 24, I think?
Okay, yeah.
It's not good. It's not good, and she's a lot worse than I am. So.
I was going to say, because I would say you're quite unlucky to have a quite a nagging back injury like that, because your style, if you compare it to Wesner's, for instance, you're sort of much less sort of impactful in what you do. So do you consider yourself a bit more unlucky, the fact that you've got this injury, which is to a certain extent forcing you out?
Not really. I think once you wrestle for a certain amount of time, you're going to have something anyway. Everybody's got something that's a little bit niggly, and I think whenever people sort of talk to me and stuff, I always say that. I always say, look at me, I don't wrestle a high impact style at all, and if I'm like this, then imagine what other people are going to be like. You know, like I don't think it's really a case of being unlucky. I mean, I've took a couple of like, I mean, I think the main reason why, like, it was a niggling injury anyway, and then I took a couple of like bad bumps that kind of pushed it over the edge, and instead of like taking, like, the first time I took a bad bump, I carried on wrestling, which obviously has not helped, and then the second time, that was like, it was a lot worse than what it would have been if I had just sort of took time out. So it's kind of a little bit my fault as well for not taking the time out when I knew I should, if you know what I mean. So
if we go back to the very beginning, I mean, your career pretty much started with a pretty bad injury as well.
Well, not really. I mean, when I broke my arm, I'd already been kind of wrestling. I wasn't broke my arm. I think I was 17, and I'd wrestled quite a lot in between that anyway, just not really on shows that people would really know. Like, I wrestled a lot of all-star shows and stuff, so I'd been wrestling like quite a lot. And again, it was just a silly thing. It was my fault. I just took a bad bump. I took a bump a bit shit. I broke my arm on it. It happened.
So what happened then? What was the experience then? What did you think when you broke your arm? I mean, how did you react?
Well, I'd never broke a bone before, so I didn't even realise it was broken. I tried to like lean on it, like I tried to like push up on it. I just thought I'd kind of just hit a nerve because it just kind of went pins and needles. So I was like, oh shit. I was like, caught a nerve. Ow, I just thought I'd hit my funny bone, and I've gone to like lean on it, and it's just kind of like wobbled underneath me, and I was like, oh shit, it's broke. And then I just kind of went into shock from there, and like literally from like going into shock and realising that I'd broke my arm, like 5 minutes later I was like given morphine, so I didn't really feel anything. So I was quite lucky in that respect, but it was in a tag match as well, so I just like, it was with Soraya, and she looked after me really well actually. She carried me to the back, she made sure I was okay. So it was a good person to be in there with. I got two. Got one at the bottom as well. People don't really notice the bottom one. But yeah, so that wasn't good. So, I've still got two metal plates in there as well.
So when you started, you're thinking you wanted to be a wrestler. What sort of style did you have in mind for yourself? What is it that you sort of perceived yourself as ending up being?
I don't know. I didn't really I was never really a huge fan of wrestling growing up anyway, so I wasn't really big on what styles were and everything. I kind of learnt that more as like I sort of started training and wrestling more, and I started watching wrestling. And when I first started though, because I was so young, I was a face a lot of the time. So I think I probably I used to do a lot more stuff then. I used to be able to do a lot more stuff then. And then like slowly as time went on and I started being a heel, I started dropping stuff and like doing less and less. And then when I started wrestling for All Star, I used to do far too much. I used to try and like do loads of shit. Like I didn't really understand like how to structure a match. And obviously when you go to All Star, it's all kind of like yay boo like stuff. It's not really like move. And I used to get bollocked every night. I'd be like, what did you do there? You know, you didn't show up to the crowd, And then from doing that, I kind of learned, like, I was taught a lot of, like, little things, like, mainly from Robbie, really. He used to teach me, like, little things like, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. And then I'd try it and it would work. And I'd be like, God, this is so much easier when you do these little things instead of, like, trying to do loads of shit. So that's kind of how, like, that's kind of how, like, I sort of changed into how I wrestle now, sort of thing.
Would you say that he was the biggest influence then on changing you from what you started off as to becoming, the mouthy Jetta that we know and love now?
Yeah, I think he's helped me out a lot more than he probably realises. When I first started going to All Star, he took me aside and he was just like telling me how shit I was and how, I was doing this wrong, I was doing that wrong, and da-da-da-da-da. But then he was like, you need to, like, do this, and this. He's like, to be fair to him, he could have just completely ripped me to shreds and just walked off. He was like, look, if you come an hour early to the show, we'll go in the ring and I'll show you stuff, and then I'll watch your match, and then I'll tell you like, what you've done wrong and what you've done right. And then that went on for like a good few weeks, and like in those few weeks I learned so much about how to like kind of work a crowd and how to like structure things. And I think the problem with training is like you learn like your moves and things like that and how to bump and in training, but you never really learn like how to wrestle a match until you like start doing it and you make mistakes and then you learn from them, sort of thing. So that was really good for me, I think.
Who were you working with then on All-Star shows back then? Who was your biggest opponent?
Probably Lisa. I wrestled Lisa a lot. And then there was a girl called Tab who used to wrestle. I didn't wrestle anymore. I used to wrestle her a lot as well. And I learned a lot from Lisa as well. Lisa's like amazingly good. She's so easy to work as well, so I learned a lot from her as well.
But you first came to prominence then, as far as a lot of people are concerned, was when you started working for LDN, and it started off with your feud with Jezebel.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought it was funny because, you were the heel and she was the babyface, the fiery babyface, and, you guys both had sort of the alternate gimmicks of what you were earlier in your career. You used to be the face, she used to be a heel, but it seemed like that was where you both found yourselves as performers. And I think those were the ones, especially because they got shown on the wrestling channel as well, that really started to bring women's wrestling back into some sort of notoriety in Britain again.
Yeah, I mean, I think with women's wrestling especially, it kind of goes in cycles in this country. Like, there seems to be a lot of it for 2 or 3 years, and then it dies down for 3 or 4 while, like, new girls come up, and then it goes back round again. It's always done that. And I've known Jezebel a while because, obviously, she trained at Hammerlock, and I trained with Magic, which was kind of like an offshoot of Hammerlock, but in the Midlands. So I'd seen her around and stuff, so I knew of her. So, and because we were kind of trained the same sort of way, like, we found it quite easy to sort of to wrestle together, if you know what I mean, because we were trained the same sort of way. So, but yeah, I would say that, like, LDM, when we started to break out a little bit more, I don't really think it's got anything to do with the TV. I think it's more the fact that a lot of people were starting to get involved in the scene, and there were a lot of people, like, wanting to put on women's matches, and they would, like, come to the LDN shows. So that's how we picked up quite a lot of bookings that way.
Well, that's spilled over, your feud with Jess, sort of spilled over into a whole bunch of other promotions as well. I mean,
every promotion.
It was in Triple X Wrestling, which is where I first saw you as well. Had a bit of a sort of that towny chav gimmick.
Mm.
Gimmick, you said?
Well, yeah, all right. Say gimmick.
Like, seriously, I don't think this chav thing is terrible, because where I come from, like, I am not a chav. Like, if you think I'm a chav, Jesus, you haven't
You drink
anything.
WKD Blue?
I'm a girl. That's what we drink. It's a fruit flavored vodka drink. That's what all girls drink.
It turns your tongue blue. It's not natural.
Yeah, but that depends how many you have. You see, if you switch between the blue ones and the orange ones, you won't get a blue tongue.
Ah, tactics.
Just it's a little tip for you there.
I don't drink WKD.
Oh, they don't even have an orange one, do they? I'm thinking of VKs. Yeah, they're little, like,
the Iron Brew.
No, I don't like the Iron Brew one. Ugh, it's a bit
For all you
sticky.
Americans out there, Iron Brew, you're going to have to come over to Britain to drink it.
No, that stuff's horrible. It's like really shit Sprite. It's orange as well. Why is it orange?
Because it's made from girders.
It is made from girders.
What? It's made from a what?
She doesn't remember the advert, Stu. She's too young.
She is too young.
Yeah, I'm probably too young. Sorry about that.
Wow.
Let's swing it back to wrestling.
Let's do that. Yeah, I mean, LDN was the place where you sort of first came to let people's notice as far as the fans are concerned. ChickFight is another one, obviously. You weren't involved in the first ChickFight over in the UK, but once you did start becoming a part of it from the Colchester show onwards, you became quite a big part of that show. Probably, the biggest heel around for quite a bit of it. And that was where you ended up having Jez's last match. And as you sort of get ready to have your last match coming up, it's gonna be funny to think back to that, about when Jez came back for that one match at ChickFight, and she never came back after that.
Yeah.
Are you looking to have some sort of big send-off match like she had, or do you think you're just gonna do a booking one day and that's gonna be it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do it and then that'll be it.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, you're essentially, you've got a few bookings and you're just going to do them and finish up. Is that the way it's working?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'll probably do like a couple of other things if somewhere like I want to travel, or if it's something that interests me. So that's why I'm not going to be like, this is my last match, because I know that if I get asked to do something that I want to do, then I'll probably do it. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to kind of like be wrestling every weekend or be traveling to like shithole towns in the middle of nowhere anymore. I'm not going to be doing that. Like, I might do maybe one a year if it's somewhere I want to go, or if it's doing something I want to do sort of thing. So that's why I'm not going to be like, this is my last match sort of thing, because I know that it might not be.
So do you hear that, Tamworth? Do you hear that, Tamworth? Jetta's not going to be coming to your town anymore.
I love Tamworth. Tamworth's great. What are you talking about?
Oh, go back to that last match that you had with Jez. I suppose that it was that situation where we'd seen it all build up, and it got really intense at some point. So I remember on some RQW shows you had massive pull aparts where you were threatening to kill each other, and then it also spilled over a little bit into Shimmer. But we'll get to your time in Shimmer in a sec. But as far as that last match is concerned, we were there and we thought it was fantastic and one of the best matches that we'd seen that year. What did you think about it?
I liked it. I mean, I've not seen it back. I don't really remember too much about it actually. Because I've wrestled it so many times, like all the matches just kind of blend into one big 24-hour long match. The amount of times we've wrestled. But from what I can remember, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I did really like it. I know she was really nervous before because she'd hurt her shoulder pretty bad and not wrestled in a while, and she was like, I'm gonna be shit. Well, she wasn't, was she? She was good. She was always good. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm happy that was her last match, because at least it was with me, because we've wrestled, so much. It's nice to kind of have that as, I'm sure she likes that she's got that as a kind of a bookend, if you know what I mean. Because there was a while there when we were wrestling every week somewhere.
Little birdie tells me that she might be at the Pro Wrestling Eve show coming up next week.
Yeah, she might be. I've spoken to her. I think she's going to be there. So.
And now that we've officially said it on this podcast, she has to be there by law.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a women's wrestling show. Don't forget that. So you've got to allow for at least only at least 65% of the people announced will be there. So. You got to remember that.
Yes, I remember it well. If we go, I know we're sort of jumping back in time a little bit, but you also had one of two British women who wrestled in Ring of Honor, because you teamed with Jez in that one as well. So I know it's a Ring of Honor show that was in Liverpool, and you wrestled Dangerous Angels. Essentially, that was your Shimmer tryout, was it not? Yeah,
but I think pretty much it was. I think it's kind of to see what my attitude was like as well, what I was like as a person, because I know that they try and be careful about not letting arseholes in, sort of thing. People who are what would be the word?
I don't know
what the word would be. Was that a good word?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think they wanted to see what I was like as well. If I was
despite
nice.
all that, they let you in.
So I pretended. I pretended really well.
Well, what did they say to you? I mean, what sort of conversation did you have with them about it?
I can't remember who it was through now, but I know that they just basically wanted somebody to tag with Jett, and they were like, oh yeah, use Jett, because, who else is there? Has to be me. So, yeah, I can't remember exactly how it was. Oh, it was a while ago. Yeah, somebody just said to me, yeah, they're looking for someone to tag with, how will you do it? And I was like, yeah.
There's quite a nice picture from when both of you came out. There's a photograph floating around the internet somewhere, and I think Jez is coming out, and she's being a whole intense self, and she's screaming and stuff, and you're coming out, and it looks like you're nearly dancing.
I may have been. You never know. There was some person down by the side of me that kept grabbing my foot, and I kind of kicked at him. So it might have been that. There's some weirdo was there on both nights, and he kept every time he'd come out, he'd try and drag my foot off the ramp. And on the second night, I just had enough, so I decided to kick him in the face. So that's probably what that was. You're allowed though if they grab your foot,
Yeah, they make the first move.
Self-defense. Exactly. So that might have been what that was.
Well, that all led to you making your debut in Shimmer. As far as getting there was concerned, I'm assuming you'd seen some of the product beforehand, but did you have any kind of preconceptions about what it's going to be like when you went in?
No, not really. I mean, I'm quite easy. I just kind of go with the flow, I don't really like. It's one thing I've learned in wrestling is people will always tell you that certain people are a certain way, or certain promotions are a certain way, and the best thing you can do really is keep in mind what people have said, but go somewhere with an open mind. So as much as people had told me oh yeah, it's a really nice place and stuff, I was like, well, let's see what it's like. I was a little bit scared. I've never been to America before. I was like, it was a bit weird, but it was really good. Everyone there is really, really nice. there isn't a bad person there, so it's really easy, like an easy place to go.
Serena Deeb was your first opponent. I remember your introduction. You sort of walked around the outside for ages, and I think you had massive heat by the time you got into the ring. They hadn't even seen you wrestle. They didn't know who you were, and you were already getting massive heat. Then you went and beat Serena Deeb as well. And I suppose it's quite weird to see what's happened to Serena since that match, because before that she was sort of there. Then afterwards she became a really big star in Shimmer, and look at her now. She's walking out at WrestleMania.
Serena Deeb, though, like she is, she's so dedicated to being a wrestler, and she's just got such a good attitude, and she's really fucking good. So, like, fair play to her. She deserves everything good that happens to her. I hope nothing bad happens to her. I hope she goes completely to the top and makes shitloads of money, because she deserves it. She's just got such a good attitude with everybody. I've never seen a bad side to Serena Deeb. So fair play to her. And I enjoyed wrestling her as well. She was really fun to wrestle, so. Have
you watched much of her stuff since she's been in WWE?
No, I mean, I don't have Sky Sports because I'm poor, I can't afford it, so I haven't seen any of it. But I hear from, like, people say stuff, and I hear, like, things that she's doing, so.
So have you seen the shaved head?
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah. I've got her on Facebook, so I've seen that. It suits her, actually, so.
I thought that.
I would be scared to do something like that, though. That's a bit insane, really, isn't it?
It is a little bit, but, I think it ingratiated her to the WWE management, because it showed that she...
It's one of those things, though,
do whatever it took.
Yeah, but you don't know what your head's going to look like shaved until it's shaved, do you? Like, you don't really know how your head's shaped until it's shaved. You can't guess. You could have an egghead, but you won't know until you shave it.
Your first weekend in Shimmer, you also ended up teaming with Lacey and Rain, and I guess was that the first time you'd met them?
No, I've met Lacey when she came over here, when she did like a couple of shows over here. I think it was when that ChickFight show.
Was that January of 2007 time? Yeah.
Yeah, I did an Irish whip show with that, and I did a show in Germany and France with her as well, so I travelled with her for a weekend, so I knew her. And Rain, I'd met in Florida because I stayed with Lexi the week before, so I knew Rain as well.
It was a nice little piece of association that you had there, though, because you ended up pretty much falling into that whole Minnesota home wrecking crew, which eventually became the international home wrecking crew in Shimmer. Yeah, but you were in that 6-woman tag, and it almost seemed like you were just sort of made to work together.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that one came about. I think it was maybe because we're kind of similar in the way that we're kind of just mouthy, and they just kind of thought, I'll put them together kind of to help me get over sort of thing, to kind of help sort of put me in a box of like, what I am as a wrestler, if you know what I mean, sort of like an easy association for fans. And it just works quite well, I think, and that's why they went with it. But I'm glad that they did that, because it was, I've had a lot of fun, like teaming with them both and having Lacey as a manager as well. It's been a lot of fun.
You guys are proper friends, aren't you?
Yeah, I love them both. They're both hilarious to be around. Rain is like a lot of fun to tag with, because she's ridiculous like me. Like if one of us says something ridiculous, the other one's like, yes, we don't care. We click quite well in that way as well. So yeah, I get on with them both really well, and like we try, like whenever I go over, we try to kind of like hang out as much as we possibly can, because you never know when you're gonna be next out there. So yeah, they're both really fun to be around. So.
Well, I guess you're talking about some of the ideas which you had, some of the gimmicks which you did. I mean, I think I remember there were goggles when you were wrestling Mischief. You came out in the huge pajama romper suits as well. You were doing the Apache dance as well. Are these just things that you just think these are fun things that you do between yourselves and think, well, let's just stick it out there in front of everybody else and see how they like it?
Yeah, pretty much. The goggles was Rain's idea though. She just brought them. The pajamas were just something that we looked through in the catalogue and we were like, oh, they're brilliant, let's buy some. But it was Rain's idea to come out and yeah, we were going to buy them anyway. They weren't even like, we didn't intend to buy them for wrestling. We just bought them because we thought it would be funny. They get the Sky Mall catalogues. They're in there.
Oh, no.
And we were like, oh, they're amazing.
You had the masks for the swine flu as well, didn't you?
That was my idea. That was mine.
It's weird.
That's my only one.
It's weird the influence that you had on the home wreckers, because I think before you came along they were a much more serious tag team, and I think
sorry about that.
Yeah, I think once you came along, you either had an influence on them or you just unlocked some sort of ridiculous bone in their body, and they just became, well, you guys all just became a real comedy mainstay in Shimmer. So I think that was something that was missing actually from the last show. I did miss a comedy home wreckers match in the middle of the show.
Oh, I think well, for me anyway, the thing with Shimmer is everyone kind of goes out there and they put on like these big kind of matches of loads of like cool stuff and da 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 da. Well, I can't do that. Like I will admit now I'm incapable of doing a lot of those moves. Like I wouldn't even know where to begin. So you kind of have to go the other way. So I think like, if I can't do that, then I need to be like 110 the other way. Rain is actually like, I probably dragged it down a little bit. You've seen the moonsault, the amazing moonsault that she can do.
Yes.
Yep. I was very surprised because I thought she was lying when she said she could do it. I was like, bullshit, do it in the match. I want to see it. And I was pretty amazed.
The thing is, don't knock yourself though, because you actually main evented Shimmer once, and you did a superplex. And I
did.
It was caught on camera. I think you were yelling out saying that was the best move I've ever done.
It really was. That was the best move I've ever done. That's the highest I've ever been that like wasn't on the plane. That's the highest I've ever been. I think that was probably like the first time in maybe 2 years I'd even been on the second rope probably.
Yeah, you are sort of.
That was Mischief's idea though. She made me do that, and I was really scared, and I didn't want to do it. I was trying to get out of it. And she's like, "No, just do it." It's like, I don't want to. And I'm glad she made me do it actually.
There's a series of photos of you and Mischief as well before that match, where I think a series of 3 where I think she's screaming at you and you're covering your ears, and then she sort of stops and you're still covering your ears, and then she's looking at the camera and this sort of bored look on her face, and you're still covering your ears. You don't really take it seriously when you come to photos, do you?
No.
We've noticed this.
Well, you have like 400 photos every single show, and it's like, after you pose like normally twice, I'm just like, okay, I'm bored now, and I just start messing about. I can't help it. And a lot of other people are probably like that as well. Probably not as bad as me though. But I get bored with it quite easily, so I just start fucking around.
What was your favourite memory of the time you were in Shimmer? But do you have a match particularly that you look back and go, okay, if I want to be remembered for something in Shimmer, it's this?
I don't know, really. I enjoyed all of the matches I've done there, really. I'm just going to say the Mischief match purely because of the amazing superplex, which I think was the best one that's ever been done ever. I'm pretty sure that it was. I mean, I've never seen one better than that. So yeah, I'm going to say that one. But I enjoyed wrestling Nikki Rocks a lot, and I enjoyed wrestling Daphne. I enjoyed that like initial little 6-person we did, and Daisy as well. I like wrestling everybody. Serena, the Ohio Girls, everyone I've wrestled. I enjoyed wrestling them all there.
All right, if we talk about some of the other stuff as well, I mean, I guess this even though there's possibly another Shimmer taping coming up, I'm assuming you're not sort of expecting to be appearing on it. Is that sort of around the time when you sort of taking your last bookings? Is that right?
Oh, I'm not really taking any bookings now. I mean, I'd do one less Shimmer just because it would be nice to kind of do what say goodbye properly. But yeah, so. But no, I'm not really taking any bookings soon.
Yeah, it's not the only American promotion which you wrestled for. You also did an appearance for WSU, didn't you?
Yeah. I think a couple of years ago now. God, it's gone past. Yeah,
I think it was against Cindy Rogers. How did that one come about?
I was going to Florida anyway just to visit, and Rain was on that show, so she just got me booked on it.
Oh, okay, so it's just a case of circumstance more than anything else.
Yeah, pretty much so.
Because we haven't seen much of WSU. It's just one of the promotions that we haven't got round to watching yet. So what was your impressions of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot like Shimmer in the way that everybody's really nice there, and everyone kind of just gets along and helps each other out. There's quite a lot of the same sort of girls there, like Mercedes and Kong and people like that, but there was some other girls there, I think, that were local. I didn't really see, like, a lot of the show. But from what I did see, it was good, yeah. It's probably, I'd say it was probably, it's worth checking out. I mean, I think they do the same sort of thing. They sell their DVDs. They only do one show, though. They don't do, like, 2 shows. I don't know if they've changed the way they do it, but they do, like, 1 show. But, yeah, I'm sure that their DVDs are probably worth, like, there was one match on Mercedes and Kong, and they kicked the shit out of each other. Crazy kicked the shit out of each other. So even for that alone, it's probably worth picking up.
Is there any difference between, the backstage of a show where it's all women, compared to a backstage where, it's a mix of guys and girls?
Well, you get a changing room when it's all girls. When it's mixed, you normally, don't even have a changing room because a lot of the venues are just kind of like one room. Or if there are, loads of little rooms and there's quite a lot of guys, you can't really, take, it's a bit selfish. So, yeah, there's one room, which is nice. It's not really that much different, really, I suppose. I mean, there's still guys backstage at Shimmer as well because they do the pre-show, but they mainly stay downstairs.
Does that bother you then, the fact that, you sometimes get maybe you're sort of shuffled into like a corner or a bathroom or something like that?
No, it doesn't really bother me at all. I'm not bothered. I'm just used to it. I can understand why. I mean, sometimes, when I go to shows, if there's 2 girls and there's loads of guys and they give us the changing room, I'm just like, no, just like, as long as you just let us get changed on our own, then you can just use it, because a lot of the venues, they don't really have a lot of big rooms. It doesn't really bother me.
That's very un-Jetta-like there. I thought you'd say, yeah, all you guys clear out, get changed in the corridor.
No. No.
Oh, well, yeah, fair enough. There is actually a couple of nice bones in your body. But I guess...
I am very... Yeah, come on. God, I am nice, really.
I have seen you wrestle, baby. You do like to have fun.
Yeah, okay, let's bring it back now to Britain as well. Let's talk a little bit about what you've been up to in this country for the last year or so, or last couple of years, I guess. You wrestled quite a bit in WAW. I seem to saw you there pretty much all the time. Your feud with Saraya a couple of years ago was my choice for, feud of the year in Britain. I think you guys went through 3 or 4 different promotions, had all sorts of matches. How was working with Saraya in comparison to working with some of the younger girls? Because, Saraya's going to have someone who's got particularly strong views on what makes a good wrestler.
It was easy, really, because, I mean, a lot of the time we just didn't even plan anything. We just we'd know who was going over. We'd have a general idea of what we kind of wanted to do, whether it was going to be a submission, because we did quite a lot of rounds matches.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're brave enough to do it, it is in a lot of ways easier because you can kind of feel where the crowd are, and then you just kind of do what you know that they're going to react to at that sort of point, sort of thing. But because obviously we wrestled quite a lot, we knew what kind of spots each other would do. So she would kind of tell me oh yeah, do that thing with the da-da-da-da-da, and then I'd just do it. So in a lot of ways it was easier. So yeah, and I always enjoyed wrestling, and we did a lot like Jezebel. We did about 100 pull-aparts for 4 months. We would just do pull-aparts at every single show. It got pretty dull. We did about 10 pull-aparts.
Apart from Saraya, obviously you've also wrestled her daughter Brittany. What are your thoughts on her? I see her very much as a kind of your successor as the best British women's talent.
I think she's probably already far surpassed me anyway, to be honest, because she's a good all-rounder, she kind of does the same sort of thing that I do, that she's very mouthy and stuff, but she can back that up with a lot of really cool stuff, whereas I can't so much. So yeah, I think she hopefully she'll be around for a while, because she's a really positive sort of person to be on the women's scene, just because even though she's so young, she knows so much just because she's always grown up around wrestling. And yeah, I think she's really good. She's a good heel. She's a good face. She'll be my last match actually in Belgium, which I'm happy about. I'm happy that she'll be kind of my last sort of singles match. I enjoy wrestling her a lot.
What's the date of the Belgium show?
I don't know. Last weekend of June, I want to say 28th to 29th. But it's the last weekend of June. It's 2 shows.
Okay.
Well,
which is weird as well, actually, because the night before, we're in a tag. It's me and Jekyll versus her and Zebra Kid. And my first ever proper match was with Jekyll. So now he's in my last minute tag, which is It's spooky.
To a certain extent, it might have come a full circle with you because now you're sort of heading up some training sessions as well. I guess were you helping out Nikki Storm when she was wrestling you on the XXX wrestling shows?
Yeah, she's new as well. I mean, I think she's been training for a while up in Scotland, but I think the problem that they have in Scotland is they've got a lot of girls there who all have really good potential, but they're just all at the same level, so they don't really have somebody who's wrestled on a lot of shows to kind of, I don't know, lead the way, I suppose. Like they're not like it's no bad thing on them, but they need to be led. They can't really lead each other because they're not like confident enough to do that sort of thing. So Nikki coming down here, yeah, I think I've probably helped her a lot. She never wrestled heel. So she's been wrestling me as heel quite a lot, which is hard because obviously the heel leads the match. So I'm, trying to like help her out there. I think it's just a case of her coming out of a shell, not the fact that she can't do things or she can't do it and she needs me to tell her how to do it. She just needs a confidence boost so she can come out of a shell and just kind of develop it naturally, which I think she's starting to do anyway. But yeah, I was up there not long ago doing a training session with a lot of the girls in Scotland, and there's a lot of really good girls up there. I think a couple of them are going to be on Eve, so that's good for them to kind of get out of Scotland and wrestle, some different people.
Yeah, let's talk about Eve now, because Eve is coming up this weekend. It's going to be you and Jemma Palmer. I mean, you talked about trying to help walk people through matches. It may be a case that you want to do the same with Jemma Palmer. It's going to be her debut match. But yeah, she's already signed a WWE developmental deal, so it's a kind of a unique situation. What do you know about her so far?
I know she's on Gladiators.
That's it.
That's about it. I don't know anything else, but I don't know where she's trained or anything like that.
I was going to ask
I think it's kind of Dan's way of kind of trying to get that match in there before she goes and before I quit. There should be interesting at least. I mean, I don't know. I think it should be alright. I mean, I'm probably a good person to put her in with just because I wrestle quite simple. I think that's kind of the idea behind it.
Mm-hmm. And of the announced card so far for Eve, I mean, what would you say that for people who are going along to Eve who maybe don't know some of the people, who do you think they need to look out for?
The Knights are on the show. They're always good. Blue Nikita. I mean, if Jemma Palmer is going to go off to WWE, it could be the only chance people get to see her up close, and it's her first match. There's quite a lot of new girls that are going to be there that maybe people don't know, but I think they'll be pleasantly surprised with a lot of them. I think if you're a fan of women's wrestling, it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, how often are there all women's shows now really in England anyway? So.
Well, earlier on you were talking about how women's wrestling goes in cycles. I mean, what sort of state is it like in the UK then, as far as you're concerned?
I think it's kind of like in the last year, kind of quite a lot of people quit, didn't they? The last 2 years, you had Jez quit, you had Sky quit, I think Roxy's quit as well now, Jade, so like kind of the main sort of girls that are around for a while have kind of dropped out. But then there are a lot of girls with like a lot of potential kind of coming up. So I think you give it a year or so, and it will just be the same as it ever has been, but just with different names. Like I don't think that anything's going to suffer by people quitting, really. It just gives the new girls a chance to kind of step up and get on more shows. I mean, I know there's quite a lot of girl trainees in Manchester, and from what I've seen of a few of them, they're pretty good. And then the Scotland girls seem to have quite a lot of potential as well. So, yeah, I think it would be a good show.
Well, as you sort of wrap up your career, which, even at 22 it's still been, long and has had a lot of stuff happen to it. Is there any sort of goals which you think, I didn't get a chance to do that? There's something else that I wish I could have done, but, I haven't done it.
I never really ever set any goals out of what I wanted to do. I kind of just thought, just see what happens. I always wanted to do a proper tour, but it never kind of worked out for me because I work as well, so I could never really get the time off and things never worked out. So that's one thing I always wanted to do. that, you know, considering, you know, I've wrestled all over the place. I've been, you know, all over Europe. I've been to America loads of times. You know, I think, you know, I've been extremely lucky with everything I've done. And I think as well, like, obviously, a part of the reason why I think it's best to just kind of leave it now is that I've had such a good run, I've had such a good time, and I've enjoyed. Obviously, there's been times when you know, it's not been the best thing in the world, but you know, I've been so lucky. I don't want to kind of taint it by carrying on when I don't want to do it, sort of thing. I want to be able to look back and it be a positive experience, not something that I did too long. So I think I've done pretty well out of it, really, considering.
Well, I would say that as far as you're concerned, you're probably the most famous wrestler to have ever come out of the Midlands.
Well, yeah, but come on. Who the fuck come out of the Midlands?
I'm
Maybe.
applying you a compliment here.
I know, but you could have said, you know, Europe. You could have beaten me up. You could have said Europe. You could have said England. You could have beaten me up a bit there.
Yeah, look, you love Coventry, for God's sake. I
do love Coventry.
Yeah, I don't know why, but you love Coventry so much, so I thought, you know, I'll big you up and say, you know, as far as the Midlands is concerned, you are a proper Midlander. I mean, if you're listening to this in America and you don't really know much about the Midlands as far as the UK is concerned,
it's the best bit.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, because I'm from here as well. But
it's like a donut, the best bit's in the middle. See
she said it, ladies and gents.
It's
but
the
no,
jam.
I think, you know, yeah, we haven't got a huge amount of stars that have made it big in Europe and in America, but you're one of them, and that puts you in a very, very sort of unique bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I've been very, very lucky with that. So, yeah, I've been lucky. Plus as well, I mean, you know, I think the best thing as well about being a female wrestler is there's never a lot of you, so it's very easy to kind of get yourself out there.
I think you're doing yourself a bit of a disservice there.
No, I don't think I do. I think, honestly, I'm not being negative. I just think with wrestling, a lot of it's right time, right place, and like how your attitude is as well. If you've got a bad attitude, then you're not really you tend to not get far. Whereas if you've got a good attitude and you're reliable, then that like stands you in good stead. And I've always been like that. I've always been a very kind of like reliable person.
This even though you don't drive.
Yeah, but, you know, we have amazing public transport in the Midlands.
That's a lie.
It's not. The Midlands as well. We're like, you got Birmingham New Street just down the road.
This means nothing. If you're listening to this in, like, Tennessee right now, this means nothing to you. But, yeah.
Birmingham New Street's a great train station. That's
a lie. That's definitely a lie. But as far as your plans for, like, you know, after wrestling, what are you going to do?
Everyone keeps asking me this. I've got to, like, take up, I don't know, show jumping or something random.
I was thinking crochet.
Water polo, something like that. Yeah, nothing really. I think I'll still kind of be involved in wrestling. I'll still kind of go to the odd show or whatever. I might do the odd training thing. And like I say, I mean, never say never. You know, in 2 years' time, I might decide that I want to start wrestling again, but I'm not going to replace it with anything. I think it's just going to be nice to be able to, like, not have stuff in my diary, like, 6 months in advance, you know, when it's somebody's birthday or some kind of thing that I want to do and I can't do it because I've already agreed to do a wrestling show in fucking Hitchin or somewhere random, you know. So I'll probably just be normal, I suppose, not really.
So you're looking forward to having your weekends back then?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Oh, Coventry, you better watch out.
All right, well, let's take the opportunity to wrap it up there. I want to say thanks again to Jetta for spending some time with us today. If you want to go and see one of Jetta's last big matches, probably the highest profile match of the mini retirement countdown, it's going to be this weekend in Sudbury, Pro Wrestling Eve. Go to evewrestling.com, get all the details on there of where the show is, get your tickets. It's going to be good stuff. Come see Jetta, give her a send-off. Come see Jemma Palmer. Come and see the Knights. Come and see the best European women have to offer. And, hopefully this will become an ongoing thing and we can have regular Eve shows in the country. It's been too long since we've had regular old women's shows over here.
It's good, though. You know, it's better that they do it this way. You don't want any more than 2 a year.
Yeah. You know,
It's a niche market, so it's good though, because now at least there's a little bit more kind of build up behind it. So hopefully Dan doesn't try and run one every month, which I'm sure if he's got after show parties where people are buying him pizza, he may do.
All right, well, on that bombshell, we will say goodbye.